Hockey dokie. I don't know why I have to clap, but you guys have to deal with it. What's going on, guys? This many is the number of sessions we're on now in our Heralds of Dawn Final Fantasy D20 patron game with special guests as well. Well, some of the special guests are patrons, some of the special guests are not. Y'all know how it is when we have giveaways. We're still rolling the character backstories, and we're still... Everyone who's not me is on Discord because this is a 7-man party. 8 people in a call will make a lot of people's computers go back to the Stone Age. So we don't have anything horrible like that happen. It's just, you get to look at me, you get to look at some sweet art, you get to hear the voices of the people who basically allow us to do what it is that we do. So I messed it up with Josh because I'm used to seeing pictures on OBS. Now I'm going to look on over at my Discord and I'm going to say Josh and Jason and Nick and Ross and Tiki. Thank you guys so much for your support on Patreon. And again, big shout out to Whiffle Possum Productions. Check them out on social media for art not unlike what you're seeing here. And I see a heart from Nick and I'm full of happiness. Anywho, the art we're using is courtesy of Tiki, being the most amazing human being on planet Earth. All coming from the man, the myth, the legend himself, and it's pretty sweet. Ross also has, I guess I don't have as much like pomp and circumstance about like Ross is in the group so much as I did with Josh last time, because Josh and I go way back. Ross is one of the first of our big patrons who all jumped in right before Gen Con. Ross actually, Ross did one of the most difficult things you can do in tabletop RPGs, and that's be in a 2-man party, be a 5e refugee, come over to Pathfinder, and then be in a party with someone who understands the system implicitly well and knows how to break it wide open. And Ross spends an entire campaign basically both in terms of speed on the battlefield and in terms of like understanding the meta, kind of having to play catch up. I've seen a lot of players quit over that, just flat out. It gets too much for them, they get overwhelmed, they walk. Ross stuck. Even when he gets attacked by bears out of nowhere. That's a different Ringworld story. You can check that out at the IOPC.
You have the biggest case of foot in mouth whenever it comes to TTRPGs, I swear.
We're getting you there.
I swear to goodness.
I will say again, and I will say on the internet for everyone to hear, don't cast Expeditious Retreat until you're ready to retreat expeditiously. First, you gotta and get out of there. Ross also basically runs the patron Discord because I don't know how technology works. I've been on Windows 10 for 4 days. That's how much I don't understand technology.
To be fair, for a lot of people, that's less of you showing an understanding and more you showing a lack of understanding.
Yeah, that's fair. And also, I really don't like change. And then my computer craps out, and now I have a terabyte SSD running Windows 10, and it's not slow. I will tell you that. It's super sweet. Anywho, Ross, what are you playing today? What is going on? What is this thing, this blue armored man in a World War II tech era?
Yes, so my character's name is Aloran Verdun. Well, that is what he calls himself. That may not be his full birth name, but I imagine his backstory will come to fruition in time. For all intents and purposes, for class builds and whatnot, he is a Dark Knight Red Mage. So, yeah, everybody in the group has already taken to calling me this group Sephiroth. So if you want to make your jokes, here you go. Get the material out nice and early. Make sure you're all ready. But, well, for the most part, how much do you want me to tell of my backstory, like, right now?
You don't need to blurt out the entire thing. It's as much as you want to divulge in, like, a quick, like, jacket thing of the book in terms of both your backstory and, like, the build and what it will do in combat and stuff. I interpret it to basically be like a like a magus, basically.
Yes, that's kind of what he is. If you ask him about his past, he would say that he once served in the First Saiyan Empire's army, and then he had a bit of a disagreement over politics and left the country, because the military and the politics of that nation are very hand in hand. So, for the most part, he tends to serve nowadays as a mercenary/adventurer with morals. He tends to make it a point that he doesn't take jobs that he doesn't like, if it's very clear it's going to end up hurting innocent people, he's going to back away from it. He doesn't like to get his hands unnecessarily dirty. That being said, he's very good at getting his hands dirty, because what magic he does contain and possess is mostly about getting him into the fight and allowing him to choose the terms of engagement. I have everything from sneaking magic to raw, just damaging magic, and add in the fact that I do have Magga's abilities, as well as a lot of interesting sort of defensive abilities from the Dark Knight. I tend to end up being I kind of built it as the hard-to-kill, jack-of-all-trade in combat sort of thing. Is kind of how I interpreted him. In melee, using spell combat and things of that nature, he's really good at spell combat. He doesn't actually take a negative when using it, which is a real big deal. And he also is very proficient with firearms, so that is how he's decent at range. Overall, he's not the most specialized in the group, but he does have roles that he excels in more, and he tends to focus more so on close combat. But that is a specialist role, so he needs to be able to make sure he can survive to get to a point in which he can use a specialist role. I know that's kind of but that is how it is.
It is what it is indeed, yeah.
It's easier to show than tell with all the abilities I have, because they're all kind of like, in XYZ, it's a tactical tree for me.
That's fair. When you come into a new system and it's a Gestalt game, so you have two classes, both of which have magical abilities, yeah, it will get complicated fairly quickly. I definitely also, and I know you're not the only one in the squad who plans to be like up in everyone's face as like machine guns are going off. I will say that's probably the bravest choice for those of you, like, because obviously it's fine, the mechanics will work out.
Yeah.
On paper, sounds like you're going to turn the corner and you're going to get charged of the light brigaded, basically.
Yeah, thankfully I do have an ability that allows me to, at a penalty of my damage output, give me DR, so I actually end up having quite a healthy amount of DR.
Okay. It's like combat expertise, but better. I can respect that. Sweet.
Yeah, I already, if I'm in it's called grit stance. If I'm in grit stance, I have a DR5 flat. There's nothing that can penetrate it.
Okay, fair enough. Take that, all of the giant rat. Well, we're level 7. You weren't fighting giant rats. Giant fiendish dire rats with another template.
Yes, we have to fight rats. As everybody else in the party. Well, I know Tiki's been the one to say it the loudest. You must fight rats first. We're playing an RPG. We have to fight rats first.
We are. We certainly are.
Even though rat folk are one of my favorite races, and apparently it just now occurred to me they were not a common race.
Yeah, I think a lot of people play them in Pathfinder, but they don't necessarily, like, you don't see them as often as you see, like, an elf. But, like, when someone's going to break into the weird races. I've been in a party with 3 total in a party, or GM for 3 rat folk in my career. So the race is liked. It's just, like, at a lot of tables you won't see
it's one of my favorite races. I quite like it.
It's real good. Anywho, in any case, we will pick up in... The bar doesn't have a name. Rather, there's just kind of a sign hanging outside on, like, one end has busted off and it's kind of like swinging in the wind, an image of a chocobo going into a trough with 3 X's on it. You find yourself in... The city doesn't necessarily have a name. It's almost just ruins. They, and by they I mean the Forsaken Empire, call it Gulag, for it is the site where the Empire was formed, the prison colony that started it all, basically, which has now been lost and abandoned and taken over by what Elvon tribes have not assimilated and retained their culture and their ways out on the outskirts. And this is where we find Aloran Verdun. Work is pretty sparse. It is what it is. You certainly have enough you certainly have enough gil to make it a couple days, but out here it's pretty regular to fiend, like, fiends and monsters and things of that nature. And the Elvon are mostly capable of defending themselves, but they're also not above paying someone such as yourself or other mercenary types to do the dirty work for them. That said, it goes without saying, of course, as Aloran certainly knows, if anyone knew you were part of the... I have to look at it because it's another one of those like rabbit caster. It's a word that sounds like another word from Final Fantasy, and I have to read it again out loud one time or I will mess it up real bad. The Genova, not Jehovah, the Genova Project. If anyone knew you were one of the Dark Knights created by the Forsaken Empire, whether or not you've left that part of your life behind, certainly the result of that knowledge would not be a happy one, we'll say. All of your weapons and armor remain packed in a room in various suitcases. Both your blade and your gun are capable of being pretty rapidly disassembled into smaller bits and parts and things.
I would keep my pistol on me because I do have a concealed holster for a concealed shoulder holster for keeping my gun on me, my pistol.
Okay, yeah, you certainly can do that. But the moral of your traveling and things it's definitely taught you that the less people know about you, the better, because your intentions aside and your beliefs aside, people are real quick to jump to conclusions when there's a military state nearby.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Aloran would know that firsthand. So, I'm gonna guess that I'm probably carrying around this bags on my back, and this is a place I was kind of like, this looks like it's not so infested with bed bugs I can't sleep here.
More or less, yeah.
Alright then. Well, then I'll just open the door, and kind of just walk inside, slowly, but not too slow. And that's sort of like, I don't assume I own the place, but I'm not trying to sneaky.
Sure. Just walking on, you have no reason to not. The place is pretty quiet, and again, Gulag is mostly, in the eyes of the civilized world, it's a ruin. There's no running water here, nor has there been in a very long time, because the Empire has kind of chosen to forget mostly its humble origins. They'd rather just paint the pictures on murals for the kids, as you're coming up in school, to be like, great Empire started at this, and now we are this, and lots of Dark Knights flexing and all that, you understand. That said, they don't necessarily talk about the actual place.
They don't talk about the origins. Exactly. They don't talk about the processes. They don't talk about the hows or the whys or the whats. They only talk about what came out of it.
Precisely. There are a couple of Elvon. They look up at you. One of them has been too far in his drinks to do more than look up, sway, look back down, take another shot. The bartender looks up, sees you, says nothing, continues just kind of quietly cleaning the glass.
I'll walk over to the bar and just kind of put one, I imagine I'm carrying my stuff in my right, and I'm just putting my left hand down on the bar and be like, hello there, is this place open? And I'm saying that in Elvon.
Okay. The Elvon nods. His eyes turn on you, not unlike a hawk's, just kind of sizing you up and down. He looks more than capable of defending himself, and the fact that he's behind a bar is questionable at best.
I'm probably familiar with a shotgun underneath a bar counter test strategy.
Yeah, for sure. And in some cases, probably some more powerful implements as well.
Yeah. I was wondering if I could get a room for the night. And perhaps some food and drink.
He nods, looks you up and down, holds up 5 fingers.
Yeah, I just kind of reach down into my pockets. And just pull out a 5 gil sort of coin. This do?
He takes it from your hands, nods once.
Alright, sweet.
Pulls out a... I won't necessarily call it moldy, but it doesn't look fresh either. Hunk of bread and a bit of, dried because it's been out of the can for too long, some kind of meat type thing that kind of just looks like a pinkish bleh on the plate that he hands you.
And what's it take to get a? I'm gonna look over at the other Elvon and say probably not what he's drinking, but a beer or whatever.
Without saying anything else or offering up any more like sign of numbers of coins, he the Elvon behind the bar turns and grabs a bottle of beer and just sets it on the table.
Excellent, thanks. And I'll just take I'll take the beer and the plate of food, and I'll just go and sit at one of the tables, not too far away.
Okay.
And just kind of like, sit down, put stuff down, breathe in, breathe out, and just, kind of just relax a bit.
Okay. So you sit down, you do the breathe in, as you sit down and you look at the drink you were offered, you see that the bottle cap on the top has the Firsain Empire's insignia just like stamped on it. And as you like run your eyes down the bottle to where like the label is, it's just more of the same. It's called Imperial Stout. It's basically covered front to back with Imperial propaganda. You begin to understand why you were given it for free. These guys are definitely no friends of the Firsain Empire.
Looking down at the bottle, I just kind of like look, now seeing what the bottle has on it, I look over to the barkeep, kind of look back at it, and then say in Elven pretty loudly, I think I asked for a beer, not horse piss.
So at that, the Elvon gives they're not high elves in the sense. Well, they kind of are. He gives kind of like a melodious, of course, Hume. And he withdraws another bottle. This one is just plain and has the symbol of like a rising sun over a mountain range. Sets it on the counter and looks at it, concentrates it telekinetically, it telekinetically moves across the bar to sit down at your table.
I hold up a hand and say, thank you.
Of course. He smiles as he does so. He shows a little too much teeth, almost as if to like half snarl in your direction. You're not entirely sure what to take of that.
Well, ain't no time like the present. I'll take the bottle, pop off the top, and just take a swig.
Okay. It's not bad. It's certainly has sat for a while and hasn't been brewed at the finest breweries in the Empire. That said, it doesn't taste like the wanton destruction they cause either. The meat I should say, as I'm throwing air quotes all over YouTube right now, is palatable. It's not necessarily what you would call good. You think the sauce on it was gravy once upon a time. Now it's just kind of slop. The bread is hard and crunchy, but with the slop it becomes hard and crunchy and tastes like the slop. It's about the best you could expect to find out here, though.
Yeah, I'm not surprised much. I just kind of munch away.
Okay.
Just kind of calmly.
As you do so, the place begins to fill up with the locals who live in the region. Some of them bring in their own food. Some of them run up to the bar, set down some money, make their way quietly to their own table and sit down. Not too long after that, you hear the engine of a motorcycle. You hear the combust, the pop of the, like, that is not what a motorcycle sounds like, but y'all understand what I'm trying to do, as it pulls its way up, which is super out of place, given that in this part of the world, not only are there not really roads per se, but certainly like no one has the money to buy anything that runs on a combustion engine. In walks a man who looks not unlike yourself. He carries himself with the same He's not trying to be sneaky, but he's not trying to like kick down the door and like puff his chest out and come in like that either. As you look upon him, for like a split second, there's a bit of a like pull of remembrance in the back of your head, which is promptly followed by a migraine headache. Aloran knows that that must mean this man was involved at some point with the project, and of course, in addition to those memories of the days when they were brought in, and by they I mean you and your fellow soldier, and you were told, hey, drink this. And some of you did, and some of you didn't. Some of you did and died horrible deaths, and some of you did and became Dark Knights, and in any case, it was excruciatingly painful. A lot of those memories are very foggy for you. Fortunately, you have that pull enough to know that that man is at least somehow affiliated.
Like, after he walks in, kind of walk over to get a beer, or does he just kind of stand in the doorway looking around?
A little bit of both. He comes in. He does spend a little bit of
time.
time.
He's not, like, hiding who he is. He's, like, if he's, you know, I imagine his cloak of resistance kind of looked like that of a duster, but the hood's down, so, like, you could see he's a human pretty clearly.
Yeah, basically. He's carrying a briefcase at his side, which you assume is where his weapons are. He kind of walks in, looks left, looks right, goes to the bar, orders. The same thing happens to him that happened to you, in basically the same order. He sits down on the other end of the room.
I'm probably just gonna finish up eating my food at some point, and just, you know, sort of like walk over to the bar.
Okay.
And be like, you know, yo, you think I can get a second one?
The Aloran smiles and 5 gil.
Reach into my pocket, pull out 5 gil coin, you know, kind of just like do that sort of like ding onto the table.
Fair enough. Okay. And this is you trying to get more food, or this is you trying to get
more drink specifically?
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
The Elvan turns and grabs 2 more of the sunrise over the mountains, whatever that brand happens to be, sets 2 down. What is it you are doing in this part of the world, Hume? Gulag is not... Well, it doesn't get your kind as often as it used to.
I laugh bitterly at that. I don't like very many of my kind that used to live here anyway, these days. I'm a drifter.
You don't like them, do you?
I kind of just like... I kind of like grit my teeth a bit. Bad memories. Decisions I wish I never made.
Of course. So you've drifted into Gulag. What do you intend to do here?
Be pretty strong enough to take care of whatever is rampaging out through the woods. Occasionally they need a bit of extra backup. That tends to be how I make my living for the most part. But in terms of long-term goals, drink these 2 beers. I say, just kind of holding them up.
Ah, indeed. The Elvan smiles, gets one for himself, offers up the bottle to like clink with you.
I'll do that.
Throws it back himself. I suppose it is that the ant lions are restless this time of year.
I swear to God, if I have to fight another horde of those things, I just kind of like shake my head.
Indeed.
I cannot get their blood off my armor for the life of me.
As big as they are, I certainly can understand.
Yeah.
By the way, do you happen to know that man over there? He's been staring at you for the past 5 minutes. He
I'm
nods
gonna
in the
like
direction of the other Hume.
I presume we're talking Elvon at this point.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just gonna say, to be honest, I was hoping to make small talk to ask you the same question.
I see. Well, I think I've seen him before. Comes in every now and again, keeps to himself. And I think he's staying somewhere out in the wilderness. The Elvon man shrugs his shoulders.
At this point, I'll, like, very fiercely, like, turn my head to look at him, kind of match eyes,
Okay.
sit up a bit, like, make it like, why are you, sort of act out like the, this guy's staring at me, sort of thing.
Sure.
And then just say...
Good.
And then just say in common, can I help you?
So it's basically as soon as those words come out of your mouth that you and he simultaneously, hands go like up to head as the migraine and the high-pitched noise begins to blare inside your mind, and it hurts, and your eyes close as he basically does the same thing. By the time your eyes open, he seems to have basically gotten himself under control, stands up and makes his way over to you. And I think I know you. Aren't you... as he tries to get the first syllable of your name out, it's just overcome with pain. The man almost doubles over.
Oh,
That
whoa,
one,
man.
you're...
Yeah, mate, listen. You look like you're having a bit of a problem here. Why don't we get some fresh air, and I can maybe help you figure out why you seem to think you know me.
He nods. You're not necessarily at the making will saves point, but you're sure he's right, because you feel similar.
I'm going to walk over right quick to my bag, pick him up, hand over to the barkeep, reach into my pouch, put 10 gil on the counter. Would you mind keeping an eye on this for me?
Of course, sir.
Thanks. And I'll just kind of like pat the other guy on the back and be like, here, let's get a bit of fresh air.
Okay. So as you step outside, parked is kind of a strong word, more just kind of leaning up against the wall is this man's vehicle, a Bahamut XCG 250. As far as motorbikes go, it's maybe not necessarily the flashiest or the prettiest, but it's kind of the Millennium Falcon, or the Toyota Corolla is another way to say it. It's a very reliable, get you where you're going kind of vehicle that the man has kept in pristine shape. It shines in the snow on the ground, and the sun reflects back. It's even probably 10, 12 years old. They haven't really made these in a while. The technology has moved forward, but it looks like this thing could run forever.
I give a little faint whistle as I see then say, I presume that's your ride?
It is.
Now that's a beauty. Now, it's been a while since I've ridden one of those myself.
Someone is dying outside.
Okay, I wasn't going to be that fast now, Jesus.
I stole it from the Empire. Let's just say you aren't the only one to have left.
I'm just going to noticeably, pause, turn to him, and say, are you wanting to get yourself killed?
Are you intending to kill me?
Keep your voice down. We're in Elven territory. You don't even slightly want to mention that directly. Got me?
The man stands up, looks around. I think I'll be safe here.
Yeah, sure. Fine.
He leans forward, around you in the direction of the still open door, mostly because the weather and the ages have done their work, basically, on this thing, and it's never going to shut all the way again, short of just, somebody getting a battering ram and wedging it in, leaning in the direction of the door. Varg, would you come out here, please? And The Elvon man makes his way out. As he does so, he reaches up his hand to his head and removes what you see now, though you weren't necessarily paying attention to it as it came in, just a simple bowler hat. As he does so, it's spin 2, 3, 4. On the other end of it, there's a faint magical shimmer, and before you stands a black anthropomorphic canine.
I'm just gonna stand there for a moment before just like beginning to open my mouth. Kind of like raise my hand as if to say some, kind of put my hand back to my mouth. Do it again. Put my hand back to my mouth. Okay, that's a first. I'll give you that one.
Indeed. Varg here has come very far, and, well, if our friends knew he was here, they would.
Look, you're making a lot of assumptions here, assuming that you and I have friends in mutual association.
You know what I mean, son.
Okay. Secondly, please don't call me son.
He smiles, nods. He seems to be probably like 10, 15 years older than you, but of course. What was your name? I think I would remember it if I heard it. You understand.
Aloran.
Oh, I've been saying that wrong this whole time. My bad. Ah, yes. Aloran. Seems to not hurt. Fair enough. My name is Abrakan. I represent a group of individuals who would like to see the balance of power readdressed. You understand, of course.
Oh, boy. It's one of these situations, is it? I say. Oh, goody. Okay, may I ask what balancing act we're going for this time? Viva la resistance, or for the people, or... Just kind of shake my head.
I think it's best we talk inside.
You know, now that I know that the bar is owned by your friend here, potentially, maybe, yes, but at the same time, I've had one too many experiences with bartenders with shotguns underneath their bars and other things of that nature. So, the only reason I want to go back inside right now is because I left my bag in there.
You did, Hume, says the big wolf man. And I don't need a shotgun.
Yeah, I expect there to be something a little bit more powerful than a shotgun with what your friend here's packing.
He smiles, and now the canine teeth make a little more sense to you, and now he has several more.
Yep. I'm not interested in being dog chow right now.
Indeed. Varg and Abrakan make their way back inside, and as you follow them, Varg puts his hand on the door. He says something in, do you speak Lupin? You probably don't speak Lupin.
I only speak common in Elvon.
Fair enough. He says something in a language you don't recognize then. As he says it, the door before your eyes appears to almost like repair itself into a perfectly functioning prime example of what a door should be. Clearly able to open and shut, and this time clearly shut. You rub your eyes a little, and as you do so, the image gets kind of blue and fadey, indicating, of course, this man's cast an illusion, but it will probably fool the layman. As you take the room in, the folks who come in here to eat all stand up. As you guys make your way back in. All of them seem to be carrying some kind of small firearm. Some of them more on the like traditional Elvon style are carrying bows and swords and things. They turn in the direction of the three of you, and Abrakan looks your direction.
Let it be stated for the record, I say, like interrupting him, I only came here to sleep and eat.
I believe you. However, we are presented with a unique opportunity. You see, my friend Varg here. Varg is from a land far south of us. The forests that his people call home are full of a special sort of materia, you see, able to replicate basically anything. The Empire has learned of its existence. As such, the Empire's eyes turn south. However, Varg has come to Gulag, and Gulag has come to me. If we can get there first, if we can get these people what could be the most powerful weapon in basically the known world, it could change a lot of lives. It's fortunate that you're here now. I hate to ask this of someone I just met. I also know what it is you are and what it is we can do, what we have done.
Buddy, you're speaking in a lot of pronouns, ifs, greater goods, things of that nature. I think I'm just like walking past them. You're speaking in a lot of sort of side-glancing tones. I've dealt with enough of those in my life. And you know that those sort of things are the reasons why I am who I am and why I've done what I've done. So, needless to say, you assuming that this sort of talk will give me anything more than upset and frankly a bit pissed off is kind of insulting. Be frank with me. What is it you're trying to do?
I am trying to put weapons in the hands of the Forsaken Empire's enemies so that they can overthrow them.
Okay, that's a good start. What is that going to do?
Well, I suppose that would be up to the Elvan in any
Sure.
case.
The Elvan, but what about the Humies that live here? What about the other races that have immigrated here? What about the other people that live here?
Well, you know how it is, son. When the fighting happens, everyone will choose a side.
Yes, and the problem is that at the end of the day, how do I know your friends here aren't going to turn on everyone that doesn't look exactly like them and start slaughtering them? How do I know that the Humies aren't going to figure out some way to retaliate and win? You're making a lot of assumptions here, buddy.
I am. The alternative is we do nothing. The Empire marches south, Varg's people are put to the sword. The Empire gains a resource that...
Tommy, I am hearing nothing of what you are saying.
Bleh. Thanks, Internet. The alternative is the Empire turns south. The Empire puts Varg's people to the sword. The Empire gets a new toy. We would like to stop that. Though, certainly, we could do so without your help. Again, it's rather serendipitous. Here you are. Certainly, 2 Dark Knights are better than 1. Crunch indeed. Better.
Well, when I couldn't hear you at all, I was like, okay, let's shove a couple of chips in my mouth.
Crunch munch. Okay, as I was saying. Well, the alternative is the Empire marches south. The Empire puts Varg's people to the sword. The Empire has a new toy. It's fortunate that you're here.
I'm going to be frank with you, friend, and I'm going to be frank with all of you, I say, just pointing to the people in the room, who, for some weird reason... By the way, who brings their own food to a bar? When did that become a... Okay. Y'all are assuming an awful lot out of a single guy that just happened to randomly walk in here. Sure, you got the thing right about my background. You got the thing right about my little abilities. And hell, I'm not gonna lie. Messing with the Forsaken Empire a bit, maybe giving them a taste of their own medicine, maybe, just maybe trying to turn this place that I call a home, and I still call it a home, into a decent place to live? Yeah, that all pulls in my heartstrings pretty good. You got a good emotional speech there, Sonny. But what word, what trust, what faith am I to go off of you? Because once again, I just walked into a bar to get something to eat, drink, and sleep. And now a bunch of random people are telling me to go out on basically a crusade. I already made that decision once in my life, and it ended horribly.
Well, son, there's nothing I can promise you that others have not promised you before. I suppose simply it is the right thing to do. You can always tell us no. Perfectly fine.
I need some... I ain't saying no. I ain't saying yes. I'm just going to need some time to think this over. Let me get some sleep. I'll give you my answer in the morning. Can we agree upon that?
Everyone in the room seems to nod at once.
Okay, that's creepy. Don't do that. I say very pointedly. Like, goodness gracious. Calling Miss Molly. Look. Mr. Varg, is it? Or... I kind of look over... Apparently mine's stuck in your head, but yours is still staticky.
Abercan nods. The man who Abercan has called Varg turns and... Varg is not my name. Varg is my pupil.
No, I was asking the name of the Hume.
Ah, yes. Abercan. You know, it's...
Abercan. Alright, then... Abercan and Fog. Making a note. Look, give me the night to rest. I'll think on it. And I swear to God, if you guys try to do something to me in my sleep, I'm just gonna warn you, I like to keep my firearms loaded. And I like to snuggle with my assault rifle. That's right, I snuggle with my guns. You try and touch me like that. And with that, I'm gonna grab my stuff and just like start to walk away before pausing and saying, you never gave me a room.
Take whichever one you want, Hume.
I'm gonna... As a math in it. Screw it. I'm gonna take the one with the fluffiest bed. I'm just gonna walk away and go find whatever room I think has the fluffiest bed.
Fair enough. Okay. As you turn to walk away and go up the stairs to where, like, the rooms, which are kind of more just, if you're lucky, 4 walls, usually 2 or 3, where beds are, Abercan just, like, follows you. Doesn't quite look at you. He always just kind of is looking a little past you so as to not get the feedback. After the Battle of Verdun, I sleep with my firearm as well.
I don't snuggle with it. That was an overextension. But it is very closely to me loaded.
Of course.
And my pistol is under the pillow.
Of course. The night passes uneventfully. It's always kind of noisy downstairs. You can hear the sounds of people talking, planning, strategizing. Nevertheless, the night passes. You wake up the next morning.
Just come down, coming, yawning, see all of them doing this. Are you guys playing a war game or something? I call black. Black always moves first. I don't know what this crap is about whites moving first, but black always... Oh, wait, we're not playing chess. And I'm just gonna, like, stop.
We are not.
Hmm.
So as you've come back down, it's also very clear that, like, you thought there would be a shotgun under the bar. There's a lot more than that, and it's been readily passed out throughout the room. People are getting they're not necessarily at target practice per se, but they're getting the basics of, like, how to operate advanced firearms, how to use grenades, how to not shoot yourself in the foot while carrying a high caliber rifle on long marches. Everyone seems to basically get the gist.
I just kind of, like, look over at him. Let me make sure I say his name right. Abrakan. Abrakan.
You got
Abrakan. Yes. Yes.
You
I
did
look
it.
over
That's
at
the first
Abrakan.
time you've got an NPC name right on the first try, I think.
Sawed off.
Proud of you.
I look over at Abrakan. All right. So, this whole weapon southward business. Am I to take? I point to the people. Them with me?
They have volunteered to go themselves.
Okay. What is it exactly I need to do? I need to go south and find this weapon before the Empire does, right?
More or less. Varg tells
Okay.
us his forests are full of all kinds of monsters. We certainly will be dealing with them. We certainly will deal with... Oh, I imagine the Empire already has eyes and ears there. Certainly we will have to poke them out.
Probably whatever other military-hungry country exists in this world as well.
Indeed.
Going.
I see.
All right. You win. Your greater good got through to my whole crusty heart that seems to have never realized love again after the trauma that was whatever I point to my head, the static stuff was. Congratulations. All hell. But I'll make it damn clear here. If I have any reason to believe that you guys are going to start going out there and start slaughtering innocent people, your head is going to be on a chopping block. And let me tell you, I know how to make some mean sushi.
And it's around this time the front door is kicked down. There is the ringing you hear in your head when you look upon another dark night, and memories that have been altered / blocked by pain begin to fade through as nothing compared to the ring of soldiers of the First Saiyan Empire moving in, grenades going off. Suddenly there's a flash of white light as a flashbang goes off in your face. The Elvan have a basic idea of how the guns work. It's not long before they start firing back. The scene rapidly erupts into chaos.
To quickly. Do I need to make any rolls or anything to find Abrakan? Because I do actually have my character sheet done. Thank you very much.
No, not necessarily. It's more of a describe how you want to do it, and we go from there kind of thing.
So, door beside us gets blasted open by breach squad. Guns start firing into and through the door and through the walls, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably gonna, like, dive behind the bar for cover, because I imagine that's the most solid item in the room, and just kind of, like, look to see if Abrakan and Varg were also smart enough to do that.
Okay, yeah, that's probably fair. The bar is probably the most stable thing. As you dive in, the bits of you that are not covered in anything thicker than cloth basically connect with broken glass. Your hands are lacerated. You look up, you don't see Abercan or Varg behind you. You see Varg has gotten his hands seem to end in like normal humanoid fingers, but he, as an Imperial soldier moves his way through, Varg grabs, like seemingly appearing out of nowhere, the man on the shoulders and then leans in and bites into his neck. Blood squirts forward as the man cries out for a couple seconds before Varg twists his and through his neck, the soldier's neck, snapping it. It's stifled off as the man slumps. Meanwhile, Abercan does that which basically is what you do. It's clear his mastery of red magic is not anywhere near what yours is, but he's incredibly skilled with a blade and in the arts of the Dark Knight.
Okay, so they're fighting. I'm gonna question. How broken is the floor? Can I see like up into the next floor? Like, is there a break in the floor, like the second floor, to where I can actually see up into the second floor from the bar? Is the building that run down?
Yeah, probably.
All right. I'm going to use my spell Hop, and I'm going to hop up there.
Sure.
It's a short-range teleportation spell. I'm going to draw my sword out from my bag. I'm going to assume I wore my armor this morning because of the situation at hand.
That's fair.
And I'm just going to say, I hate early morning gunfights. And, I'm going to quickly, try and get to a window or something and see if I can, look down onto the squad below.
Okay. Yeah, you have line of sight to them, and they're not really looking up. It's clear when you hit the window that the fight is not taking place just at this bar. It's taking place all over Gulag. You can, now that you're paying attention to it, you can hear the sounds of, airships overhead, both the bigger troop transport types of ones and the smaller, fighter craft, if you will.
All right, then. Well, I'm going to just grab my sword, and how are they all clustered up around the front door in front of this bar, like the ones that are in my immediate sort of danger area?
For the most part, some of them are ducking under windows for cover and then standing up, fire back down.
I'm going to jump out the window, and as I come down, I'm going to grab my sword in both hands and use Killer Blow, which essentially, if you've read my sheet, allows me to make an attack on one person in front of me, and then everyone within my reach and sort of this front arc in front of me takes the damage on my weapon times 3.
Oh, good. That sounds balanced. Oh my.
Yeah, I took the killer's
spooky.
blow. I didn't get my harm touch increased. I just went with a really powerful swords technique.
That's fair. Okay.
Trust me, as someone who's GM'd a game in this system, that is not that broken.
Well, that's nothing. Okay, good. Fair enough. Okay,
Sorry,
so what does that look like when you do this thing?
Well, for one thing, I took a couple of talents. The way I have an archetype of Dark Knight, it allows me to take Sword Saint, which is basically a super awesome sword guy talents. And the one tree I took the abilities I'm able to take from is called Two-Handed Weapon Fighter. Duh. So there are a few abilities here stacking all on top of itself just to make one really bad push sort of moment. First off, I have an ability called Giant's Reach. Whenever I'm wielding a two-handed weapon, my reach with the weapon is increased by 5 feet, because essentially I'm just wielding it so powerfully that the very concussions, the concussion of the air from me swinging my sword, actually hurts people. Secondly, I'm using the ability Mighty Blow. which is a maneuver that requires me to use stamina, which is sort of like a fighter version of MP that allows them to make special sort of attacks and maneuvers. And that's the thing that it targets everyone in the area. Normally, Mighty Blow only does 2 times the weapon's damage, plus your strength modifier.
But it's Killer's Blow I'm seeing that's letting you do
Yes.
triple. Okay.
The Killer's Blow allows me to do triple. Therefore, all of those abilities stack into one. Killer's Blow, which allows me to basically hit anyone within this frontal 10-foot arc in front of me with one attack, dealing 3 times my weapon, what I would roll for normal weapon damage, which would be, since I'm dual wielding a sword, 1.5 times my strength, plus, a knight's sword is a 1d10 weapon.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so you fall down into these guys, and I imagine it's just like swing sword concussive force pushes out into all these guys. Gross. Probably gross it is, too, as basically they're hit with the force of like a concussion grenade. They're all thrown back, they scream out in, we'll call it common. I thought about making Fersanian like a regional dialect, but meh, in common as they whoosh back, landing on each other. Most of them don't get back up. One of them kind of like falls in such a way that his top half is up against a wall, reaching for his firearm. He tries to pick it up and point it in your direction. It's around this time that there's an explosion behind you. Actually, no, that wouldn't quite be how that works. It's around this time that you hear a faint whistling noise in the air overhead. A couple seconds later, there's an explosion behind you. Aloran is thrown forward.
Like back into the bar?
Like away from the bar.
Oh. Crud monkeys.
As the ringing subsides, you look up and you see that the bar was just hit with an artillery strike.
Oh, goody. Yep. See, and here you are worrying about my abilities when you can just throw artillery strikes at us.
Yeah.
Goody.
It's the balancing force. When in doubt, I will carpet bomb you.
Yeah. Alright, I'm just gonna look up. Just shake my head. God damn it. Get up. Run over to the door. Do I see any of the other people I was talking to? Abrakan? Do I see Varg? Do I see any of them?
Well, you don't see a door.
Well, obviously.
So you could probably try to find them, but the bar is rubble at this point.
Alright, at this point...
You know the Imperials are, they're not fond of firing on their own men in combat, but...
They definitely think that we're worth the cause.
And it's kind of like friendly fire isn't, but if people are unintelligent enough to catch that friendly fire, well, there's more of you back home waiting to enlist. That sort of thing.
Yep. Really kind of a bad attitude for a socioeconomic status to be built upon.
Indeed.
Well, with that in mind, I don't see them, right?
The only thing you see is Abrakan's bike. It's definitely scuffed up now, but it seems to have been thrown away from the building rather than hit by the blast.
Yeah, I'm going to run over to it.
Okay.
Kind of flick it up. Is the keys in it or anywhere near by any chance? So
the thing about Imperial tech is it won't respond. There's no key to go in the ignition to start it. You've seen these kinds of bikes before. You weren't necessarily...
I owned one.
Oh, well, never mind.
In my backstory, I owned one.
I thought you did. I saw something about a bike.
I did.
Now. In any case, the bike is activated when it needs to feel the call of a Dark Knight, basically. They are made, though not necessarily this model, this particular, when you guys are handed any kind of tech on this order, they are keyed to not necessarily an individual, but they are keyed to your order, your sorts of people. It needs to know you're a Dark Knight. It will power itself on from there.
Then I will, I'll take the damage for one turn, I imagine me going into dark side will then allow it to know it's me.
Yeah, that seems to make sense.
Because that is the trademark thing of the Dark Knights, where we start taking damage every turn equal to our level in order to get the SR and all that stuff. Basic.
Fair enough. Okay, so you do the thing. I imagine when that happens, there's probably a little bit of blood somewhere, maybe like down your eye, maybe out your nose, something. But when it happens, the bike flares to life. A drop of your blood lands on the handlebars, and it's ready to go.
I'm just gonna like say out loud, "Abracan, I'm sorry," and just vroom.
And vroom it is. It's definitely not the easiest ride out of Gulag. There are explosions everywhere, planes overhead, artillery shells.
I do have a +7 on drive skill rolls.
Good, you will need it. Bombs everywhere, soldiers shooting at you, lots of sharp turns, dodging other folks in armored cars, but you are able to escape the city.
All right then.
City, air quotes. At this point, it's basically just, it was a ruin, and now it is a ruin capital.
No, it's
R.
rubble.
Yeah, basically. It is nothing anymore.
All right, I'm just gonna keep driving out of the city distance, a good distance away before kind of like stopping, just kind of like catching my breath. You know, getting off the bike, just, and then just start like yelling and screaming at the top of my lungs, like, I know this is gonna happen! I know! God, I know it! Ah! You know, that sort of like reaction.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I imagine it's a very harrowing moment. As you do so, Abracan didn't have a sidecar on this thing, but there is, under the seat, there's a little bit of storage. And as you, like, in rage, you throw your hands up, and one of your hands, like, connects with the seat and pulls it up, revealing the trunk of the car, if you will. Inside it, there's a ticket.
All right, I'm gonna look down and grab.
The ticket is pretty plain, about the size of like the palm of your hand. Maybe not as wide, but like from like your bird finger, ring finger down to your palm, basically about as big as it is. It's a ticket on an airship called the Opportunity, which will take you to apparently a city called Eddard's Dawn. There's at the bottom, there's the begin again, start a new life, all the kind of like slogans you are probably more than accustomed to seeing in Imperial propaganda. However, this is clearly not them. Because if it was, there would be some kind of Imperial insignia somewhere.
All right, then. I'm just going to look it over. Kind of stare at it for a moment. Fold the ticket up, you know, put the ticket in like my one of my pockets. And just, I always imagined my character had like a baseball cap or something like that. When he's just walking around, you know, kind of Jason Bourne style, he'd put it on, pull up his hood, so that way people wouldn't be able to recognize his face all that much. Just kind of like put on his hat. Okay. Well then, Abracan, I told you I was going to help you. Looks like I might as well try. And after a few more moments of steaming rage, I'm going to get on the bike, and I'm going to start making my way to where the ticket says I'm going to depart from.
And so you do. It's the next major city with an airship port is only about a couple hours ride on this thing. It's in Imperial hands, but you know how to move amongst those people without getting caught or anything like that. This ship is of a make you've never seen in your entire life, run by these real scrawny, purple-skinned, hooded figures who seem to just kind of like make their way, almost like Jawas, to go from Final Fantasy to Star Wars. Just kind of like running all up and down the place at lightning speed. There is room on the ship for the bike, And in return for turning in your backstory...
Fast like monk speed? Or are we talking en route speed?
Yes.
Oh, no.
In any case, in return for giving me a backstory, Aloran will begin play with a, like I said, a Bahamut X CG250, which mechanically, though the mechanics may change as Vil makes more stuff for his system, mechanically you will begin play with a, getting the exact name of it from the PDF, a Galbadian soldier motorcycle, essentially. We will work to adjust what your miles per hour should look like, because that thing can certainly go faster than 22 miles per hour.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Yes.
And that is where we're going to call it. I forgot that even Discord could give me a bunch of internet call drops, which is sad, but we'll work on it as we move forward. I'm sure there's something I can do somewhere to make my internet be a little nicer with Discord. It'll be probably about a week before we roll out the next two. I'm thinking the next two will be the parties Al Bed. We'll do Tiki's and then Jason's. From there, we have 3 more players, 2 of them who are a little more low-tech, and we'll run them at the same time. And then Mr. Nick Cirillo will run last with the illusionist who can make real things. I'm rapidly realizing how broken Final Fantasy D20 is, and I may have to rethink some of my encounters or just carpet bomb you. In any case... Be sure to like and subscribe for more videos. Ross, thank you for your time, your support, your patronage. Say bye, dude.
Bye!